In a world sealed off from cameras, a darker story unfolds. Beyond the guarded fences of North Korea lie vast camps hidden from maps, places where survival means silence and every step can be fatal. But in 2025, cracks have begun to show. New satellite images, escaped testimonies, and leaked files are exposing a machinery of fear few imagined still existed. This film takes you inside that shadowed system. For decades, North Korea's leadership denied the very existence of Kwanliso, sprawling political prison camps said to hold tens of thousands. Officials called them re-education zones. Critics called them death factories. Until recently, evidence was anecdotal. Blurred satellite photos, smuggled sketches, whispered accounts from defectors. In 2025, however, a new wave of high-resolution images and corroborated testimonies has given investigators a clearer view than ever before. We see grid-like rows of barracks, fenced perimeters stretching for miles, quarries and logging areas where inmates are forced to labor. This chapter sets the stage, introducing a secret world the regime tried to erase from the global conscience, and why this year might mark a turning point. When no journalist can enter, the sky becomes a witness. In early 2025, commercial satellites captured never-before-seen patterns across North Hamgyong province. Newly built guard towers, expanded barracks, and suspicious earthworks resembling mass graves. Analysts from independent think tanks compared images month by month, watching the perimeter of Camp 16 balloon outward. Machine learning algorithms flagged truck convoys, prisoner work columns, and even smoke plumes from cremation sites. North Korean state media dismissed the findings as fabrications of hostile powers. Yet the data tell a different story, one of a system growing, not shrinking. In this chapter, we explore how technology has pierced the regime's veil, making it harder to hide abuses and easier to galvanize international attention. Numbers on a map mean little until someone gives them a human face. In Seoul, Tokyo, and Washington, ex-prisoners are stepping forward with new courage. Some escaped years ago but stayed silent, fearing retaliation against family members left behind. Others have fled only recently and carry fresh scars, physical and psychological. In 2025, coordinated support networks now provide them legal protection, relocation assistance, and platforms to speak. Their testimonies overlap eerily: starvation rations, routine beatings, executions for minor infractions, entire families condemned for one person's alleged crime. This chapter lets those voices guide us through the barbed wire reality behind the satellite pixels. They're not only witnesses, they're living evidence of crimes still unfolding. Dawn begins with a whistle sharp enough to slice through sleep. Inmates tumble from straw mats onto frozen floors, lining up in rows as guards bark numbers. Each person's day is mapped to the minute. Roll call, forced labor, ration distribution, ideological lectures, lights out. Work brigades march to mines, logging fields, or construction sites miles away. Even children carry stones. Whispers are dangerous. Eye contact can be fatal. A single infraction, a hidden scrap of food, a question asked at the wrong time, can mean hours of beatings or disappearance into punishment zones. This chapter immerses the viewer in the regimented monotony that sustains the camp's control: exhaustion, hunger, and constant surveillance. Officially, these facilities are called reform through labor. In reality, punishments rarely have an endpoint. Detainees serve guilt by association sentences. Entire families imprisoned for a relative's suspected political offense. Guards rotate to maintain cruelty as routine, not passion. Punishments escalate from kneeling for hours on gravel to underground cells known as tiger cages, where a person cannot stand upright. Public executions are staged to break morale. Former prisoners describe being forced to stone or hang fellow inmates under orders, an act that crushes empathy as much as it enforces obedience. This chapter examines how the system converts punishment into a permanent condition, erasing the very idea of release or redemption. The camps sprawl across rugged terrain, steep hills, rivers, and minefields. High fences crowned with electrified wire form the obvious barrier, but the deadliest obstacles are invisible: starvation, surveillance, and collective punishment. Escapees recount how guards punish entire work units for one person's flight attempt. In winter, footprints on snow betray fugitives instantly. In summer, insects and disease sap strength. Yet some still try. In 2025, reports surfaced of a daring breakout from Camp 18 involving a tunnel dug beneath a coal shaft, a first in years. Whether the escapees survived remains unknown. This chapter explores why flight is nearly impossible and yet always imagined, the thin thread of hope that defies the system's walls. Among the most haunting revelations of 2025 are images of children within labor units. Born behind barbed wire, they know no other world. They shovel slag, sort stones, and attend mandatory indoctrination sessions where slogans replace lessons. Malnutrition stunts their growth. Untreated injuries become lifelong disabilities. Some ex-prisoners describe secret acts of kindness, and my associations. Older inmates sneaking a crust of bread, a clandestine lullaby sung in the dark. But these are rare flickers in an otherwise relentless grind. International law calls such treatment a crime against humanity. This chapter gives voice to those who lost their childhoods to a system built on collective guilt. The camps are not only instruments of terror, they're engines of profit. Prisoners mine coal, fell timber, and manufacture goods that feed North Korea's hidden economy. Trucks marked with civilian company logos roll out at night, carrying raw materials to state-controlled firms or foreign middlemen. Satellite tracking in 2025 revealed new roads connecting Camp 16 to port facilities on the East Coast, suggesting a direct export pipeline. Analysts believe this forced labor network subsidizes the regime's elite and its weapons programs alike. For inmates, it means endless toil with no wage, no rest, and no recognition, a literal economy of suffering. This chapter shows how repression and commerce intertwine behind sealed borders. In a nation that worships its leaders, independent faith is a crime. Inside the camps, any sign of religious practice, a whispered prayer, a hidden page of scripture, is met with brutal reprisal. Yet in 2025, defectors recount secret gatherings in coal shafts or latrines where inmates risk everything to recite verses or sing softly. Guards infiltrate these circles, using informants to flush out believers. Punishments are swift and public. But for many, faith is not rebellion, but survival. A way to keep an inner life when everything external is stripped away. This chapter explores how even the smallest act of spiritual expression becomes an act of resistance under total surveillance. The cruelty of the camps is not improvised. Guards are trained in a system designed to dehumanize inmates and themselves. Former security officers who defected in 2025 describe indoctrination courses teaching that prisoners are traitor subhumans, unworthy of compassion. Recruits practice restraint techniques, punishment drills, and psychological tactics before deployment. Incentives are perverse. Bonuses for confessions extracted, promotions for low escape rates. Some guards reportedly smuggle food to inmates or look away from minor infractions, small cracks in the armor of obedience. But these are rare and dangerous. This chapter dissects how ordinary men and women are transformed into enforcers of a nightmare. Despite decades of reports, the camps remain low on the global agenda. Diplomats prioritize nuclear negotiations, not human rights. Sanctions bite, but rarely target forced labor networks directly. In 2025, however, a coalition of NGOs used leaked shipping manifests to trace goods from North Korean camps into supply chains in China, Southeast Asia, and even Europe. Public outrage erupted briefly, but governments hesitated to act. This chapter confronts the uncomfortable reality. The hidden horrors persist partly because the world looks away. Awareness is rising, but sustained pressure is rare, and without it, the system adapts and survives. One of the regime's cruelest tools is guilt by association. A father criticizes the state. 3 generations vanish into a camp. Children grow up believing their parents' crime is their own. Spouses are separated, sometimes across different facilities, forbidden to communicate. In 2025, defectors reunited in Seoul describe searching refugee lists for missing loved ones, often in vain. Even after escape, many live under assumed names to protect those still inside. This chapter tells their stories, showing how the CAMPs extend their reach far beyond their fences, breaking bonds of trust and family that might otherwise challenge the regime. For all their brutality, the camps are not impervious. In 2025, new leaks suggest internal dissent. Mid-level officials selling information to brokers in China, low-ranking guards defecting with digital evidence, families bribing their way out of re-education zones. Satellite photos show unfinished construction at one major site and a sudden reduction of labor columns at another, signs of resource strain or shifting policies. Experts caution against over-optimism, but these glimmers matter. They hint at vulnerabilities in a system long thought unshakable. This chapter closes the first arc of our documentary by framing the question: could global exposure and internal fractures finally force change, or will the camps simply mutate and endure? By mid-2025, the outside world has more proof than ever. High-resolution images, defectors' sworn statements, intercepted shipping logs. Human rights councils hold emergency sessions. The UN debates new sanctions. Hashtags trend for a few days at a time. Hashtag free North Korea prisoners, #KwanLiso truth. Yet inside the camps, nothing changes overnight. The regime doubles propaganda, calling defectors actors and photos Western fakes. Chinese border patrols tighten to stem escapes. Humanitarian groups are blocked from delivering even basic medicine. Still, cracks appear. Companies caught buying forced labor goods cut contracts. A few governments freeze elite bank accounts. North Korean refugees begin live-streaming testimonies with anonymized faces, reaching millions on social media. The camps are no longer rumors. They're headlines, documentaries, court filings. This chapter looks at that uneasy space between exposure and action. How global outrage builds, but walls of secrecy and political interest still hold. And how every delay costs lives behind barbed wire. Standing at the edge of 2025, we glimpse two possible futures. In one, the world turns away again, attention drifts, and the camps adapt as they always have, shifting locations and methods but preserving the same core of repression. In the other, persistent documentation, targeted sanctions, and coordinated refugee support chip away at impunity until the system falters. Inside the camps, hope is a dangerous luxury, yet it survives. A prisoner etching a map on a scrap of cloth, a child learning secret words from a parent, a guard hiding evidence on a flash drive. These fragments of defiance echo outwards, finding journalists, lawyers, and ordinary citizens who refuse to forget. This chapter draws together all threads: technology, testimony, commerce, and conscience, to ask a final question. What will we do with what we now know? The answer may decide whether North Korea's prison camps remain the hidden horrors of 2025 or the exposed crimes of a world that finally acted. Behind the fences of North Korea's camps live tens of thousands whose names we may never know. But their stories are no longer invisible. Satellite images, defectors' voices, and leaked files have pierced the regime's darkness. This documentary has shown you not only a hidden system, but the choices facing the rest of us. Awareness is the first crack. Action must follow. Share, speak, and support those who risk everything to tell the truth. In 2025, the world has no excuse not to see. The question is whether it has the courage to act.